IPOB one family. Asimu umu Biafra. IPOB one family. Undichi meleze na mma. IPOB one family. Nnamdi Kanu ọgaranya onye ndu ndị Igbo. Ọhamadika anyị kwụ gị n'azụ. Ọhamadika anyị kwụ gị n'azụ.
Good afternoon, Father.
Good afternoon.
Father, I hope you don't mind if I ask you one or two questions.
Sure, no problem. You already stopped me.
Yes. First of all, can you introduce yourself to my audience?
Okay, thank you. My name is Reverend Father Augustine Odimmegwa. I live and work in New Jersey, here in the United States of America.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. About the election 2023 and all the confusion surrounding it. Some people say no election, would like no election because of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's situation. What do you say to that?
That's a good question. Honestly, let me say this. Those who are saying that there will be no election in Biafra land because of the situation of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, I am not condemning them outrightly. Why? Because think about it. Nigeria professes to be a democratic government, right? And in a democratic government, both the government and the people respect the rule of law. As a matter of fact, it's more obligatory on the part of the government to respect the rule of law and then set a good example for the people to follow. So, but in this case, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been discharged and acquitted by the Federal Court, Appeal Court in Abuja. It's almost like it's more than 4 months ago. But the federal government is still holding him against the law, which the federal government herself is supposed to be the custodian of the law and order, supposed to be protecting the law. But they have been holding him against the decision of the court. So what does that mean? It means that the federal government is going against their law. And when you go against your law, you kind of lose the moral authority to demand the same compliance to the law from the people. So I can understand why people say they're not going to vote. Why? Because the federal government is not even respecting the democratic process, which is the law and order that we profess. But at the same time, we also look at it from a different angle. Because when you think about it, two wrongs can never make a right. You cannot say because the federal government disobeyed her own laws and refused to release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu against the decision and judgment of the court. Because of that, we are not going to abide by the civil process of electing a president, which is a democratic process. No, two wrongs can never make a right. So, I would say that for those who are saying that there will be no election in Biafra land, in Igbo land, one thing is clear. In the struggle, I know that they are doing it or saying it because of the type of the struggle we are in, which is struggle for self-determination through referendum. Very, very key. We are looking for a self-determination through referendum. And what does referendum mean? Referendum is a civil process whereby people determine what they want to be or what they want to do, which is by voting as against the arms struggle The armed struggle is where a person or two, a group of guys, organize themselves and decide to fight for their independence by shooting their way through to freedom. No, we are going by the civil process of referendum, which is the will of the people. That is why in freedom fighting, one of the most difficult things you do is to educate the people and to convince them that the vision you have for them and for all is for their own good and not just to satisfy your own selfish interest or your ego. That education is very, very important, because at the end of the day, the final decision has to come from the people, not from you. So, and Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has done marvelously well there. He has conscientized the people. They're able to now, a good percentage of our people now know their rights, not just within Biafra land, outside Biafra land, in the entire country. Honestly, all the support that P2B is getting now, more than 90% of the support that is getting goes back to the education and the information that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been putting out the entire country. So now, if you are using a civil process that is acceptable by the international community to fight for your self-determination, until you get it, it is not so proper that you start fighting against the same process, which is election. Election is a civil process of having a change of government, right? So you have to respect it until you get to your goal, which is an independent country. Remember, the United Nations Working Group acquitted Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and discharged him from any charges Nigeria has against him because of the extraordinary rendition. Why? Because United Nations investigated the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and found out, and they wrote it there, that he is fighting for the freedom of his people and is doing it in the right way. That is why they are able to vouch for him. You understand? So there is already an accepted process that the struggle is maintaining, and we cannot shift. Otherwise, if you say there will be no election, and then that day we see some thugs carrying guns in Biafra land, meanwhile the same thing is not happening in Yoruba land, it's not happening in Middle Belt, it's not happening in the Hausa land, and then it's only happening in our land, and we are the people fighting for self-determination, and we said we are fighting for self-determination through civil means. And here we are, people are carrying arms, stopping people from going to vote. So what image are you putting to the international world, international community? You are telling the international community that we are not as civil as you claim to be in your struggle, or as your leader has claimed to be. Right? That is why it is very, very important, because we don't want to send a very, very negative signal to the outside community. They have come to support us, they have seen what we are doing, and they said Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is fighting for the freedom of his people, and he has a right to do it, and nobody should have even arrested him for doing that, because they know that what he's doing is right. And more importantly, in the freedom fighting, one of the basic principles in freedom fighting is you don't just fight for the people, you must fight with the people. Must in capital letters and with in capital letters. You must fight in consonance with the people. It is not enough for you to have a vision for your people and then all of a sudden you are fighting for your people without educating your people, without the people knowing exactly why you are fighting for them. So because of that, That is why Mazen Namdekan spent years using Radio Biafra to educate our people on his vision for our people, and then was able to convince our people, and they bought into the vision. Now, when you are fighting for them, especially in this case of election, you must always go back to find out what is the will of the people. What do the people want? You understand what I'm saying? What do they want? The same thing played out in 2019 when Atiku and Obi were going for the presidency. Mazen Namdekan saw that a very high good percentage of people, Biafrans, were in support of P2B and Atiku. Right? What did he do? He decided to call off the seat at home for the election. Yes, negotiations were done, but at the same time, he knew that a good percentage of the people, far greater majority of the people, wanted to vote. Now, it is even more, because P2B is all over the place. You understand what I'm saying? So, as far as the people, more than 95% of our people back home, they want to vote. So if you are fighting for the people, you must also fight with the people. Find out what they want. If what they want is not best for them, then you go back to education. Educate them. For them to see what they are seeing. But if what they are fighting for is not bad for them, it might by chance become good for them, then you have the moral obligation to respect it. So that is why I strongly stand and say nobody should interrupt the election in Biafra land. Allow it to flow. This is the will of the people. We must respect the will of people. Mazen Namdekan will always say, what the people want is what we give them. If you feel that what they want is not going to be best for them, you educate them and let them see with you. But at the end of the day, it has to be the decision of the people. And I repeat, nobody should stop the people from going to vote if they want to. Anybody who wants to vote should go and vote. If you don't want to vote, well and good. It is your civil right. Stay home. But if anybody has decided to go out and vote, nobody, in the name of the agitation, Biafra struggle or whatever, nobody should stop them. Otherwise, that person stopping them is not working in consonance with the freedom fighting that Mazen Namdekan set up. That's all I can say in that.
Okay. Thank you.
I hope you are.
Yes, you have answered.
So there should be no confusion.
Yes.
And moreover, sit at home is a civil right. It's a civil right. People's right to sit at home. People want, if they want, they sit at home. But once you are threatening the people, once you start threatening them to sit at home, it's no more a civil right. It is now a crime. It's a crime to threaten anybody. You are here in the US. Even if you are talking to somebody and the person says, are you threatening me? What do you say is, no, I'm not threatening you, I'm just making you a promise. Because once you say, yes, I'm threatening you, what can you do? You're already in trouble, especially if it is recorded. So to threaten the people to sit at home is wrong and criminal. And it is not against, and it is not in line with the principles for which we are fighting for the freedom of Biafra. If anybody is doing it, is not doing it for the agitation of Biafra, or for IPOB, or for Biafrans, anybody, you are doing it on your own. Because we are going by the accepted international standard as we pursue our goal.
Okay. Thank you, Father. For those who might be thinking that sit at home might facilitate the release of Mazen Namdekan before the election, what do you say to that?
Like I said, sit at home is a civil disobedience when it is coming from the will of the people, right? But it's coming from the will of the people, it is a perfect moral practice. It's accepted all in the global community. Right? Now, if you are doing it and then you believe that it's going to give us the result, we cannot do a wrong sit at home in order to get a good result. You cannot force people to sit at home in order to get a good result. There's what we call, in moral theology, there's what we call a human act. If there's something like perfect, a perfect human act, first of all, the act must be good, the intention for the act must be good, and the process of achieving that, for carrying out that action must be good. If any of these three arms, any of them is wrong, then the whole thing is wrong. What you want to achieve, or what you want to achieve must be good, your intention of achieving it must be good, and the means of achieving it must be good. Therefore, you cannot force people against their will in order to achieve a goal. No. Again, it goes back to education. You go back and educate the people and let them know that by sitting at home, these people will reduce Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. If they buy into it, and now they can willingly sit at home and wait for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and they can wait as long as they can. Remember, sit at home was put by DOS, IPOB. It was done once, sit at home on Mondays. It was done once. Before the second time, it was cancelled. They called it off, right? They said that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu said no, they should call it off. They called it off. What did the people say? No, we want to sit at home until they release him. It wasn't long ago that we started hearing about all the threat and all the violence. But initially, it was the decision of the people to sit at home until Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is released. They chose to do that even against the order of the DOS and IPOB, because they understand that it is a way to help their leader. Okay? So under no circumstances should anybody force people to do what they are not willing to do, including sit at home. Thank you.
Thank you, Father. Speaking of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, how is he doing?
That's a good question. I wouldn't deny the fact that I'm very much in touch with what is going on in Abuja, especially on a weekly and bi-weekly basis. Yes, everybody knows that it's in a very difficult situation. Solitary confinement is not, it is a very difficult situation for anybody to be. It's by far worse than maximum prison. Solitary confinement is where you have maybe 6 by 6 or something like that, and then maybe you have a tiny window 9 feet up there. Every other place is dark, and then you are there 23 hours out of the 24 hours of the day. It's not easy. So definitely for somebody to have stayed there for all this while, there's bound to be a lot of health, physical health and mental challenges. As a matter of fact, I remember reading somewhere, somebody saying that he has been in DSS dungeon, DSS solitary confinement for 2 days, and then he has been in Kuje prison. But he said he would rather spend 1 year in Kuje prison than spend 1 week in DSS solitary confinement. That shows you how difficult the place is. So there's no doubt that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is going through a couple of physical ailments. So far, we thank God mentally, there's not much difference. We know that he's having the ear problem. He's also having of course, the heart problem. So that's why we are consistently updating the United Nations with his his health conditions on a regular basis. We don't know what they do with the information, but we know that they are doing something in most on that issue. And the bottom line is he is well physically, no doubt about that.
Thank you, Father. Now, the court has discharged him, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Why is he still there in DSS dungeon?
Just like I said, it beats my imagination that a country that professes to be a democratic government, somebody is discharged by the court, discharged and acquitted, not granted bail, discharged. Discharged means you are discharged, go home. Very simple. And then the federal government says, oh no, you are going nowhere. This is a federal court. And the most annoying thing is that the appeal court judges unanimously, three panel judges, said that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu cannot be tried in any court in Nigeria, cannot be convicted in any court in Nigeria because of the case of extraordinary rendition which is hanging on the neck of the federal government. And yet they're still holding him. And like I said before, the federal government is setting a very bad precedence, because what it means is tomorrow you and I can be discharged by the court, and what happens? A governor, a local government chairman, any politician can say, oh no, you're going nowhere. You stay back where you are. That's not acceptable. So we don't know why they're still holding him. Your guess is as good as mine, but what I'll advise people is to be calm, because we don't know what these people are planning. Period.
Thank you.
There's so much good.
Thank you, Father. Finally, what advice would you have for our people in Igbo land regarding this upcoming election?
The advice I'll give them is for people to avoid violence. If you want to vote, go and vote. If you don't want to vote, stay away. You understand? Stay away from it. Do not allow yourself to be used by these politicians. They are the people who are destroying the country. And now they buy you as dogs and then you go there and die. If you die in such a circumstance, you committed suicide. You should protect your life. Period.
Thank you.
Don't mind because it's so cold here.
Okay, thank you, Father. Thank you for this interview. Have a good day.